Hello, everyone. Charles Watts here. Welcome to another edition of Inside Arsenal. It is Monday, and it is a very disappointing Monday indeed. I've been sitting here, I think, for the last half an hour trying to G myself up to do this video, and it's been really, really difficult because I just don't want to come on here again and talk about another defeat, another game where Arsenal created chance after chance and failed to score and ended up paying the price for it. But that is what we saw against Liverpool yesterday, with Arsenal crashing out of the FA Cup at the third round, losing 2-0 at home in a game in which they really, really should have won. Same old story, isn't it? Unfortunately. So that's what we're going to have to talk about today. And I hope you guys, wherever you're watching or listening to this, do not find yourself feeling too depressed as we talk about it, because yeah, it was a disappointing day indeed. So we've got lots to cover today. We'll go over the game, what happened. We'll look at what Mikel Arteta had to say about the game, the performance, the possibility of signing some forwards during the window who can actually score a goal, which Arsenal certainly need at the moment. Got some questions and comments from you guys as well, giving your opinion on what was a really disappointing 2-0 defeat yesterday at home to Liverpool. Look, it was a good performance. It was very hard to come in here right now, sit down, discuss this game, and look at it as a bad performance. It wasn't. It was a performance against a very good Liverpool side, which should have generated a very comfortable win. But I know it's a cliche, but the most important thing in football is scoring goals. If you don't score goals, you're not going to win a football game. It's that simple. And Arsenal didn't score a goal. They missed chance after chance, passed up opportunity after opportunity. And when you do that against any team, especially a team against like Liverpool, you're going to pay the price. And that is what happened. And it's a same old story, isn't it? And I think we are now at crisis point in this season. I did the school run this morning. I dropped my boys off to school, my daughter off to school, and I was coming out of the class, coming out of the playground, and I walked past an Arsenal fan that I know who's dropping his daughter off at school, and I said to him as we walked past, it's like, all right, yeah, I'm officially worried now. And the last few weeks, I've been trying, well, since obviously the Liverpool game before Christmas and the West Ham match, I've been trying not to be too sort of reactive to what's going on, because I've been looking at some of the performances. Just take Fulham out of it. Fulham was awful. But certainly the game against West Ham, and I was like, that wasn't too bad. That wasn't too bad. They should have won that game. And I've been trying not to be too worried, but I am worried now because we are at crisis point in the season, because this season could unravel very, very quickly from this point. It is so crucial that Arsenal find a way of scoring goals, and quickly, because if not, you can just wave this season goodbye within a couple of weeks, really, once they get back from Dubai and get the Premier League going again with a match against Crystal Palace, because they're now 5 points off the top of the table in the Premier League. They're now out of the FA Cup. They're now out of the Carabao Cup. The Champions League is going to roll around very, very quickly. And although you'd look at Arsenal as favourites against Porto, if they're not going to score, then they're going to go out. And so, yeah, your season could potentially be over. You could be left, I don't know, fighting to try and get into a top four spot is all you got to play for the rest of the season. And where Arsenal started this season with the ambitions that they have and the targets that they had, then that is going to be a real disappointment. So we are definitely at crisis point in the season, and Arsenal need to find a way of turning around what is now a very worrying run of results. Since that game against Luton, which they won 4-3 on December the 5th, they've now played 7 games, won 1, drawn 2, lost 4. That is a concern. They didn't score against Villa, scored 1 against PSV, scored 2 against Brighton, scored 1 against Liverpool, didn't score against West Ham, scored 1 against Fulham, and didn't score yesterday. And that is not a good run of results. And when you look at the game yesterday, and this is what I'm talking about, it wasn't a bad performance. There's no way you can sit here and you can analyze yesterday's performance and say it wasn't a decent one, because it was. They played a very good Liverpool side. Yes, the Liverpool side were missing a few players, but Arsenal were missing a few players as well. But Arsenal were good in all areas until both boxes again. And that's a worry, because that is just what I'm saying after time now. And it's what Mikel Arteta is saying time after games at the moment. You look at the stats, the expected goals, 2.3 again for Arsenal, just 0.9 for Liverpool, 18 shots to 13, 5 on target for Arsenal. Look at the possession, the passes. Arsenal were totally dominant. These are stats from cannonstats.com. As always, the link's down below if you want to check out his stuff. Very good analysis as always. But the most important thing there is that stat at the very top of that list: goals. Arsenal 0, Liverpool 2. You can play as well as you want, but if you don't score, you're not going to win. And it's that simple, really. And just leaving the stadium yesterday, the sense of disappointment around the place, it's just like, how have we managed to lose that game? But you can't keep asking yourselves that. And if you are asking yourselves that, you've got to point to, well, how do we manage to win this game, lose this game? And you can talk about luck all you want. Luck, you say it's going to even itself out over the season and all that sort of stuff. And it might kind of do. But ultimately, this has been going on all season. Arsenal should have scored a lot more goals than they have this season. So when it's an ongoing theme, then the solution has to be either changing things up, which Arsenal tried yesterday. Played Kai Havertz as a number 9 to replace the injured Gabriel Jesus. I thought in all areas, apart from finishing, I thought Kai Havertz had a really good game yesterday. But in the box, he just lacked conviction. He lacked quality. And he passed up opportunities to score, which he should have taken. And it wasn't just Kai Havertz. It was everyone in an attacking sense. Odegaard should have scored. Bukayo Saka should have scored. There was opportunities there for the players that they didn't take. Reece Nelson should have scored. So it wasn't just Kai Havertz. I'm just talking about him playing as a central striker. So you sort of change things up and it still didn't lead to a goal. Mikel's saying why we didn't score today. He said because we didn't put the ball in the net. I mean, it's that simple. We didn't take our chances. I haven't seen other teams in the first 6 months that are generating what we've generated against them in the last 2 games, but we're not capitalising, not today or in the last few games. And that's why we are not winning. And it's true. It is true. But you've got to ask yourself then, well, have I got good enough players to do that? And, he has to find a solution very, very quickly here, Mikel Arteta, because if he doesn't, as I said, this season is going to unravel. And ultimately, it's his job to find a solution because he's the man, along with Edu and the recruitment team, when they sat down at the start of the season, they knew the sort of finances that the club had and what they probably had to spend and what that would mean in terms of FFP. And they were the people who chose to spend that sort of money on Kai Havertz. And again, this isn't me digging out Kai Havertz, but ultimately they invested a huge sum on Kai Havertz rather than investing that money on another goal scorer or a proper left eight who knows that position, who can score in that position and has proven to score in that position. They chose to invest that money in Kai Havertz, and that is money that has now pushed them right close to the limit in terms of FFP. They were the ones who struck a deal with Brentford, albeit a loan deal with Brentford for David Raya and chose to replace Aaron Ramsdale, committed a large chunk of money this coming summer to do that by having to pay Brentford for David Raya. So they've made these decisions in the market. They've created the squad the way they have created it. And they have gone with the forwards that they had last season. And again, you can look at it and say, well, these team, they scored 88 goals in the Premier League last season. That is a Premier League title winning attack in terms of numbers. The stats back that up. And so you can look at it and say, well, the players did it last season. How could you expect them not to do it again this season? They showed they could do it. They've just fallen off a cliff this season. In many ways, again, that is probably correct. But I think everyone would have liked to seen a little bit more firepower added. But ultimately, they went down a different route when it came to their squad building in the summer. And so they are the ones who have to find the solutions right now. If you can't sign a striker now because of what you did in the summer, then it's down to you to get more out of the players that you're getting now. So, he has to find the solutions, Arteta. The players have to do better for him, 100%. You look at yesterday's performance and I've seen there's lots of groundswell of, Arteta out and all that stuff, which is just, reactive rubbish because it's not going to happen. At the end of this season, if he's flopped and Arsenal end up finishing 6th and they go out of the Champions League and have gone out of these cups, then he's going to have to face the consequences of that. And it will be up to the club to make a decision on his future. But they're not going to do anything now on the back of 3 back defeats. So all this Arteta out now or do something, if they've got to sack him today. It's just not going to happen. So you may as well stop wasting your breath in saying it. But, come the summer, depending on where they are, he's going to have to live and die by his results at the end of the day. But he has to find a solution now to avert what's going on. Because if he doesn't, as I said, this season is going to slip away and it's going to slip away very, very quickly. I mean, look at this stat. If you're watching on YouTube, you got the stats of the shots for the West Ham, Fulham, and Liverpool game combined here. And this doesn't even take Aston Villa into account, which would even add even more to this. The 1-0 defeat at Aston Villa as well. You look at this against West Ham, Fulham, and Liverpool. 61 shots with an XG of 6. Arsenal, should be scoring 6 goals from expected chances. Expected goals from those shots, and they've scored 1. 61 shots in 3 games and 1 goal from an XG of 6. It's just not good enough. And again, you can say, oh, it's down to bad luck. This, it will even itself out as the season goes on and all that sort of stuff. But I'm sitting here right now and I'm not that convinced that it will. And I've backed the forwards throughout the season, but it's getting difficult to continue to back them at the moment because they're all just showing no signs of that rueful nature in front of goal. Mikel admitted it after the game that he thinks it's probably become a mental thing now. And it is, and they're thinking it and they're overthinking it. When it gets to that stage, it is really dangerous because it's hard to get out of it. And it is. And it's just a real... I can understand why the calls for the striker are getting louder and louder now. Mikel was asked about it yesterday when he was asked about the supporters wanting a new striker because apparently, I was sitting on the other side. I was in my seat. I wasn't in the press box yesterday, but the journalists who were in the press box, apparently the supporters were making it very, very clear that they wanted a new striker signed. And Mikel said, look, what I beg from the supporters is that they behind the team, and they've done in difficult moments. Stick with the ones we've had. They are incredibly good. If not, they don't do what they've done again today or at Anfield. Stick with them. It's exactly what they need, that we are fully behind them. That they feel important and supported because they deserve it with their attitude, and they don't deserve anything different. That's my opinion. And I do agree with him. Look, this team, these players have got Arsenal to where they are right now. They gave us last season, even if it ultimately ended up just in disappointment, missing out on the title. They've proven they can do it, so they do deserve everyone to stick behind them. And I think that they will. But then I don't think that necessarily means that supporters shouldn't be calling for something else to be added. You can support this group of players all you want, but you can also want extra strength added in an area where the team is struggling. And Mikel was asked about it yesterday in a separate interview, but I think it was with Behind Sports, if a striker could come in January. And that quote on the bottom there, if you're watching on YouTube, he says, "At the moment, it doesn't look realistic. My job is to improve our players and get better results with the players that we have." And the reason it doesn't look realistic is because, again, I go back to the work that they did in the summer, is what's making it unrealistic now, is because of the finances that were spent in the summer on other areas of the pitch. And so again, ultimately, that is on Mikel Arteta and that is on Edu. And so if this season ends up unraveling because of that, and Arsenal don't score enough goals because of that, and they don't have the resources now to do something about it in January because of that, it's on them, and they have to, that's why questions are going to be asked. And that's football. That's the way it works. You live and die by your decisions. And right now, the decisions Arsenal are taking in the summer are stopping them potentially doing what I think we all know now that they need to do this month. And that's a worry, because without a new face coming in, whether it be a striker or another winger this January, you do struggle to see where the goals are going to come from during the second half of the season. And I just feel like, and I'm sorry that this is a downbeat episode, and I knew it was going to be, which is why I was trying to G myself up to do it, because I want to be positive. I want to be talking about good things. We all do. We want to enjoy watching football and listening to analysis about football. We don't want to hear all depressing talk. But right now, it's tough to be really, really positive about what's going on at Arsenal at the moment and the solution to it. Ivan Toney is a player who's consistently linked with Arsenal. He's about to come back from his ban now. He's given an interview with Sky Sports with Darren Lewis, really good exclusive interview. Talked about an awful lot of stuff, and he's talking about Brentford and how he needs to repay them. He said, Thomas Frank has been nothing but the biggest help I could have asked for. The whole club has. The club is right behind me from the first. The fans were behind me, which was a massive part. Everyone knows Brentford is a family club. They have been nothing but amazing for me. I can't thank them enough, especially the fans. They were behind me from the first minute. So it's kind of like I have a lot to repay. And, I'd be very, very surprised if Toney moves in January. I can't see, as I've said many, many times, that Arsenal would be able to afford him anyway, even if they did try and prize him away from Brentford in January. So Yeah, it's just a real worry. And Gabriel Jesus now is injured, which isn't going to help. We don't know how bad it is. Mikel's speaking about it afterwards. He said he has some pain in his knee. We did a scan. It showed something. Hopefully, it's not something too big. It's the same knee that he had previously. So we cannot take any risks. Hopefully, it's not a big injury. He says that he thinks Jesus will go with the squad to Dubai. But I mean, this is going to only add to Arsenal's problem. It's another knee problem with Jesus. Like Mikel said, it's the same knee. And so that is a concern at the moment. Hopefully, as they suspect at the moment, it is nothing serious, but it could soon turn into something serious. And then you're left with, Eddie Nketiah and Kai Havertz as your strikers. And it's, it is a concern. The one thing, and I will try and be positive on it, is that Arsenal are playing well. You can't look at what they've done in recent games, especially the home games, especially yesterday, and say they're not playing well, because they are. And so hopefully everyone who says, oh, it will even themselves out, they will score a goal. And it wouldn't take much to change things. If Arsenal come back from Dubai and they have this reset and they do get themselves sorted while they're over there, and they come back and they score 3 or 4 against Crystal Palace, which could easily happen with the chances they're creating, then that could be what's needed just to kick them on again. So although I talk about crisis point, you can go two ways from a crisis point, can't you? You can go down and the season can unravel, or you can quickly turn things around, get yourself going again, find the momentum that took you to the top of the Premier League just a few weeks ago, and kick on. And Arsenal do have players who can score goals. We've seen that. They showed it last season. They just need to find that spark to be able to do what they did again last season. Bukayo Saka, for example, not good again yesterday. Bukayo Saka. Martinelli came on, and at least he did look bright, I thought, when he came on yesterday. But those sort of players, if they can find that spark again to get themselves back, then they've proven they can do it. But they just need to do it very, very quickly, especially if no big additions are going to come in this January, as Arsenal and Mikel Arteta keep hinting is going to be the case. This is my player ratings I did from yesterday's game. Again, I think a lot of people were expecting me to be dishing out 3s and 2s and 4s and everything for the game yesterday, but I just didn't think it was a bad performance. And I thought a lot of them played very, very well. I thought Aaron Ramsdale did well in goal. He made a really good save from Jota. Was it Jota? No, it was Diaz, wasn't it, to keep it at 0-0. Brilliant ball for Reece Nelson, which should have opened the scoring after a couple of minutes. I thought he played well, Ramsdale. I gave him a 7. White, I gave a 6. The 2 centre-backs, I gave 7s. Kivior, didn't really do much going forward, and he scored the own goal. I gave him a 5. I don't think it was an awful performance from Kivior. Jorginho, I thought, played well. I gave him a 7. Rice, I thought, did fine. He gave a 7. Odegaard, a 6. Saka 5, Nelson 6, Havertz 5. Again, a lot of people think, oh, Havertz should be getting a 3 or 2. I thought Havertz played well. I thought he in all areas he played well, but unfortunately the key area, which is where you're judged if you're playing as a striker or an attacker, is scoring goals, and he missed his big chances just like everyone else did. So in the end, I gave him a 5. But I didn't think it was a 3 out of 10 performance from most of these Arsenal players. I thought it was an average or just slightly better than average performance from lots of them. Unfortunately, the key things let them down in the game. And Matt here, I thought it was a good sort of reaction to it. He said, gutted with that, to be honest. Like the West Ham game, we created enough chances to have killed it and have at least come away with a win. Yes, we need a striker, but my word, we need to be more clinical as a team. I'm still not going to get carried away and spiral into panic mode. Bar the Fulham game, I think we've been chronically unlucky in the last 3 games, and we should have come away with more. The breaking games has come at a good time. Regroup, refocus, and maybe get a few finishing drills going in Dubai. Let's keep behind the team. They'll be hurting like us. I thought this was a really good sort of reaction from Matt, and kind of summed up where I am now. I'm not quite at full-on sort of panic mode, but I think if this goes on for another game or certainly 2 games, then I will be. As I said, we're at that key sort of crisis point where it can go 2 ways, and Arsenal need it to go that way. They can't afford for it to go that way. And I thought this was a good sort of well put together reaction from Matt. Matt says, look, Vet Paris says, I want Kivior to work. Clearly he's not a left back, but for a centre back, that is the 3rd time in a row he's made a costly mistake on a cross. The sporting miscommunication with Turner last season when he sat down after he got stood on against Brighton. Of course, we all remember that. And then tonight with the own goal. Also remember seeing him giving these booming diagonals for Spezia, just not seeing it, unfortunately. Yeah, I think Kivior is having a bit of a tough time at the moment. He is playing out of position. Of course, he is in a team where everyone's struggling for confidence right now. So it's a lot easier coming into a team that's winning and playing well, and confidence is high. When you're coming into a team and playing out of position in a team that's struggling, it is obviously very, very difficult. some of these comments here. Post-match thoughts. Got a top one. Thank you, Charles. It's sad to say, but based on what we saw at the Emirates today, I can't help but thinking this team has plateaued. Game could have continued till next Sunday. We wouldn't have scored. A lot of huff and puff, but they can't seem to find the spark. As much as we need defensive midfield cover, if we can't score goals, we'll be in trouble. I think a striker forward definitely being in the running for January. Just my 2 cents. The management team has a lot to think about. They do 100%. Louis says, post-match thoughts. We dominated the first half. We had chances to kill the game. It was naive to miss that many chances and not expect Liverpool to play better in the second half. Saka was poor. He needs a holiday and let his body recover before the restart. Martinelli was sharp when he came on, and Ramsdale had a fantastic game. Disappointed to be out, but there are positives to take as well. Anne says, guess we'll be working on scoring drills in Dubai. Got to do better to contend with CL and EPL. And you do. You just got to do better. It's as simple as that. And if Arsenal can do better, if they can start to take their chances, we've seen they're doing more than enough to win these games, and the results will come back. So I'm going to try and end on more of a positive note. Vetper again with this one, I thought was quite interesting. He says he has some sympathy for Arteta and where we are right now with our squad building. Could argue the defence is ahead of schedule. If Partey were fit, the midfield aging would be so. Like Arteta mentioned, his pre-match presser, the players that give us versatility. Timber, Partey are out. He'd argue Havertz as well. I don't think a lot of people would have anticipated that scoring goals would have been our problem last summer. Our main failure has been not having enough depth to give Saka and Martinelli a rest. ESR played incredibly well on the left before his injuries, and Martinelli's form displaced him. Also think Gabby Jesus could have been used on the wing more than he has. Yeah. But again, I look at it, and when you talk about the squad building, ultimately this squad has been built by Mikel Arteta and Edu. And that's why, and they're going to have to, as I keep saying, sort of live and die by that. And they made the decisions they did in the summer. They brought in the players they did. They agreed to commit the money that they did in the summer on certain areas of the squad and didn't spend it on other areas of the squad. And so if things go wrong, if the season continues to go like this, if Arsenal continue to struggle to score goals, then they're going to have to face the criticism that is already coming their way. And that's just the nature of the game. Let's just hope that they go away to Dubai now. They can have this reset that Mikel keeps talking about, and they can come back and they can find their form and their spark in front of goal again, because everything else is there. We're seeing it. We saw it again yesterday. It's just that final thing. And they say it's the most difficult thing in football. Unfortunately for Arsenal, it's proven to be exactly that. And they need to get over this mental block, and they need to get over it very, very quickly, because if not, this season is going to spiral out of control very, very quickly indeed. All right, everyone, look, that's it from me. Sorry, this has been a really downbeat show. It's very hard for it not to be at the moment. Like I said, I had to G myself up to get going on this one, but we'll see how things progress over the next couple of weeks without football. We'll see if Arsenal can find a way of doing something. We'll see if they can find some money. You know, do they need to be ruthless? Are you at that point of, okay, we need to do something. Let's sell someone. Let's do all we can to get someone out the door, bring in some money, and that will allow us potentially to do something that might really help us over the second half of the season. Will Arsenal do that? I don't know at this point. Again, the messages we keep getting is not to expect too much. So we'll see if that changes over the next couple of weeks. But anyway, look, enjoy your Monday, everyone. Yeah, don't feel too downbeat. Try and forget about football for a bit, maybe until tomorrow, when you can come back and we'll talk about something. Talk about something else, hopefully a little bit more upbeat. I'm going to try and do a couple of live Q&As during the next couple of weeks, get you guys involved. Probably do those over lunch times, maybe an evening one as well, if I can. So keep your eyes peeled for them. But until then, anything you want to talk about, any comments or questions you want to include in tomorrow's show, please do include them down below. I'll go through them, of course, and put them all together. And I'll be back tomorrow to talk all things Arsenal once again. Until then, everyone, have a very good day. I'll speak to you soon.